Welcome to the Short Marketing Show, where we get insights from professionals who've experienced success in building credibility, driving sales, and creating awareness so that you can do the same. In this episode, Justin and Blaine sit down with Soly, Director of Marketing at Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Soly tells us her top 3 marketing tips that have kept her ahead of the curve. 1. Never stop learning. 2. Study your competition. And 3. Digital. Take a listen to find out for yourself how Comfort Temp dominates a regional market so that you can do the same.
Soly, how are you?
I am great. How are you guys?
Doing good. Doing awesome.
Can't complain.
Not at all. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your role over at Comfort Temp.
Yeah. So my name is Soly. I was actually born in Cuba. It's a fun fact I like to share with everybody. They've not met a true Cuban who's been born there.
That's awesome.
I went to University of Florida for undergraduate anthropology and business, and then proceeded to get my MBA from Southeastern University.
Awesome.
And I actually focused on executive leadership, not marketing, surprisingly. But I started in Comfort Temp about 5 years ago. Truly started in their HR department. That's kind of what they needed help developing at that moment. And I've just always been a creative person. I have random ideas, whether it's, cheesy lines or like visuals. And so as I've, presented ideas, it kind of developed, you have a nick for marketing and social media. And so picked up marketing and PR shortly after starting. And
that's awesome.
Been doing all that ever since.
That's awesome. Great. Whenever you have one of those little ideas, do you just jot it down, or are you kind of one that always has them in the back of your head?
Yeah, I have to learn how to jot it down and send an email because I'm so impulsive. I'm like, run. Yeah. Hey, guess what I just thought about, and I'm like interrupting everybody.
That's awesome.
So I've learned to, whether it's at night, you lay down in bed and you have all these ideas circulating. Yep. I have like a sticky notepad or a notebook and you just like write them down or on your phone. So the next day you can get into it. But always write it down, and I kind of think on it a little bit. And sometimes I do like a mock design or a wording, and then I present it to our branding manager.
Gotcha.
And kind of develop it from
awesome.
there. So.
I love your, just touching on, you mentioned that you're creative. I've always been like, I am not a creative. But I think one thing that people fail to forget, or they often forget, is like sometimes creativity is just the idea. Like, and marketing, I think personally that's the basis. That's the foundation.
Right.
If you don't have the ideas, forget the implementation and the strategy and all that. Like without the idea, marketing is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to happen. So I always like to point that out. If you don't think you're creative, then you're saying you've never had an idea. So
absolutely.
Everybody can be a creative and flex those creative muscles.
Starts with an idea. Yeah.
Well, I actually didn't think I was creative. I was told it was creative, and that's exactly it. I just thought of things differently. You think outside the box, or you see how somebody's done something and you kind of, it would be cool if they did this instead, or, and it's just a thought. Yeah. But when you present to someone, they're like, I never thought of it that way.
Absolutely.
So in their mind, you're creative, right? Because you don't think the same way. So.
Yeah. What are 3 free things? All right, a little mouthful there. That you've found to be priceless as a marketer, with your experience there at Comfort Temp.
So I've learned, obviously marketing budgets are important. And there's a lot of businesses that have the opportunity to have budgets and they're pretty grand. But there's also, especially through the COVID era, a lot of businesses losing, cash flow, closing down. I was really thinking, what are, 3 things that everyone can do and it's at their disposal that doesn't cost them a ton of money. And the first thing, and something that I practice and we practice at Comfort Temp, is we learn from everybody.
Love it.
So, you constantly have people calling you on the phone, emailing you, showing up at your doorstep. Hey, can I sell you this? Hey, you need this platform. You need this marketing thing. Yep. And I used to get annoyed by it until I realized that I could definitely learn from them. Yep. And by not giving them the opportunity, I'm sometimes missing out on a great idea.
Of course.
So if you have 1,000 calls after this episode, don't blame us.
I know. I put myself on the spot.
You did there.
Yeah. Well, also depends on scheduling. It's our busy time right now. So I'll preface with that. Call me in the fall.
There you go.
I would let all these outlets kind of come in and present their ideas, what they found. Because a lot of time they research your platforms and they tell you this is where you're lacking, this is what you should do, this is an idea, this is what's worked for other people. So end of day, you're learning a lot about your company, insight that you didn't even know from other people who are experts in that area. And you can either do one of 2 things. It could be a really good partnership that could develop from it, or it's an idea that you can take and run with and apply yourself, which I do sometimes. But it is, it does take up time, and time is money, but technically there's no expense to brainstorming with other people. So that's one thing I always recommend. The other one is always studying your competition.
Okay.
Right.
That's awesome. That's huge.
Yeah.
Especially for being an HVAC company.
Yeah,
there's tons in Gainesville.
Yeah. There's thousands of thousands. But if you study, your top 5 competitors, let's say, just constantly being on their website, seeing what they're doing, their pricing, staying on top of it. Not only can you learn more about them, but you can learn more what sets you apart. And I think that's the key thing in anything you do. There's always going to be competition, but if you know the competition well enough, you know yourself, you know what's different, and those are the things that you want to highlight.
Love it.
Right? Because that's what the customers are looking for. Everyone's the same. Oh, wait, they do this differently. Nobody else does that. Let's give them a shot. So always study them, as well as larger companies. So in HVAC, for instance, there's national and international HVAC companies that have gone before, and they've started small and grown their way, and you kind of studying their history and the steps they've taken to get there, and kind of sizing it to your company is one of the ways that you can get creative and kind of think outside the box. And then the last one is just social media. Social media doesn't cost, well, if you boost post, obviously it's going to cost you money, but just keeping an active account is something that gives you,
posting
good
something.
analytics. So what I recommend is at least 3 times a week to post something on your social medias. And we've gone from like 3 social media platforms to like 15 or 20. So, be selective. You don't have to be that diversified in it. Know what target audiences, like TikTok might not be as, good for an older clientele than a younger crowd. So you just study your market. But there's a lot of applications like Kajabi, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to mispronounce Tiny Bull, that you can actually program all your things. And then as far as creating the ads, there's free platforms like Canva that you can actually maximize quite a bit to make digital ads. And then you schedule them all, type in the comments, and they self-publish. You don't even have to worry about it. But that's I would say 3 times a week will be a good start.
Very nice. And what is your marketing structure? Just so people can get an idea, is it just you in the marketing realm there at Comfort Temp, or is there other people involved in marketing, or is everybody outsourced? How does that look for Comfort Temp?
So when we first started, and it was a smaller company, it was completely outsourced because just not the means to have a full-time marketing person is kind of hard. So outsourcing to a good agency is so ideal if you can afford it. It's like you have experts at your fingertips. They know their way around everything. Google Analytics, they've got your back. Obviously, having someone in-house, if you could afford that, is beneficial because they're just focused on you, growing your market, growing your brand, and again, the disposability of it, hey, can we whip this up? Can you do that? Can you put this?
Ideas can just flood anywhere.
Without having to bug the agency, because then there's extra cost for that. So we started with in-house. Now we have technically 2 people that make up our marketing department.
Nice.
I kind of oversee more of the budget and the thoughts and the ideas and how we're going to proceed throughout the year with our partnerships with different manufacturers and everything, and the monies we have with that. And then there's another team member who focuses on more of like the design, and then keeping up the website and things a little bit more technical that I am not that great at. Videography, camera, like you don't want me taking pictures. So, and when I do, she has to edit them greatly or retake them. So funny. So we kind of have that dynamics, as well as we do outsource some things because we understand that we don't know everything about SEO and Google, and they're constantly changing their algorithm. So since I'm not an expert, and neither is my
takes
team
a long
partner.
time to become an expert too.
Exactly. We do outsource that kind of platform, and we work with a local company called Foes Creative. Shout out.
Shout out.
They are an awesome team. So
they are awesome.
We're kind of diverse.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely. It's kind of the way to go.
Definitely. And kind of going to what you said when Comfort Temp first started out, and kind of they outsourced, and now it's kind of a mix. If it's a small business owner listening right now, and it's themselves, and maybe they have somebody else on operations, let's say they're in the service industry, so electrician, anything of that sort, and they're at that point to where they might even be running a couple trucks and they know there's greater potential. What would you recommend be like that first marketing hire? Like, is it the designer? Is it the technical person? Is it the idea person? Then you outsource. Like, what would your approach be to tackling that specifically for a service field?
Yeah, I would definitely say hiring the doer.
Yeah,
right. That's the most time consuming part. So that's going to be the person who you can delegate a task to in the marketing realm, and then they can, tackle it with your direction, with your vision. So as long as you are staying on top of the A game and developing new ideas, and you're the one researching as the business owner or operations director, whatever your title is, if you're doing the heavy load of, research, seeing what other people are doing, developing new ideas, and simply delegating.
Yeah.
If you're capable of doing that, that would be your first step. So someone who's like a branding specialist, who can do graphics, who can post stuff on social media and track that for you, who can create forms.
Like a digital
internally.
marketing coordinator. Is
exactly. So that would be the first, because they can just, under your direction, kind of complete the task that maybe you're not capable of doing because you don't know how to do Photoshop or, whatever.
Absolutely.
So that would be my first step.
Slowly just delegating. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to jump back to competition in a way, just because of I look at HVAC companies just as there's so many different options in here in Gainesville. Every day you see different trucks driving down the road back and forth. How in your own words, how has Comfort Temp been able to kind of stand out from that large crowd of heating and air companies here in town?
Yeah. So to start, there are thousands and thousands of companies, but probably the greater 80% of them are one or two man shows. So they have one track, they're independent contractors, and they kind of do their thing. So obviously that competition is aside, and then you study the remainder.
And you guys are in sorry to interrupt, but you're in Jacksonville and Orlando too, correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
So along with that, then there's another set of companies from the ones left that only do residential.
Gotcha.
Or only do service or only do install. So you can kind of knock those people out. So now you have the ones that do residential and commercial, right? And that's the competition I study.
Okay.
Because we have Comfort Temp Heating and Air, which is our residential side, and then CT Mechanical, which is our full service mechanical and plumbing department. So
Gotcha.
they kind of have different competitors, but there's some overlapping. But we've just really studied not only their pricing to make sure that, we're not the cheapest or the most expensive. We're pretty fair pricing, but the service that we offer goes above and beyond. So just to give you a quick example, our whole thing, what we want to instill in every person that we hire and every customer we have is that it's our business to bring them comfort into their most used spaces, but we want to do it with complete peace of mind every step of the way. And nowadays in the climate of the world, peace of mind is super important. And so something we do is through our service platform that we utilize when we dispatch somebody, they get a text message bio like, hey, my name is Tom. I'm a father of 3, love playing baseball on the weekends, been in the trade for 20 years. And they have a little picture. So they see our beautiful branded truck and branded employee walking down to their doorstep and knocking. They know this is exactly who I was expecting. And
because that is a big fear for people. I mean, whoever it may be, that single mom that has their air condition just blew out. They don't know who's coming into their house, and it doesn't have to be a single mom. It could be a teenager that's 20 something year old. They've never had a service tech in their house, and that is a scary. That's a scary thing to do, is to bring somebody into your place of comfort and have them fix something, and you don't know who's coming in your house.
That's huge.
I love that. Taking it from your service starts before you even step into the house. And I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
We want to make sure they're comfortable every step of the way, not just physically. And people really appreciate that. I think knowing not just that is the person, but even a little bit about them. Okay. I know them a little bit better, so they feel more comfortable with them.
Of course. For a company as large as Comfort Temp, I'm just curious, like, what is the number one sales funnel for you guys? Is it, are people coming from your website, or are they seeing your social posts, seeing the trucks? There's a bunch of trucks out there. Where, if you don't mind sharing that, where do you see a lot of people coming from?
68% of our leads are word of mouth.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So that really, most people would be like, my other marketing strategies aren't working. But to me, that speaks volume, because it's other people being satisfied with our service and wanting their friends and their families to be serviced the same.
Absolutely.
Just before coming here, I had one of the dispatchers come and tell me, won't disclose the customer's name, but, hey, she just referred her second customer because we have a referral program, and she wanted to know what her benefits are and such. And so it's always nice to hear that people are satisfied. And then number 2 is our vans.
Yep.
We have over 100 vehicles in our fleet. So you can imagine they're running around with our brand out there. And so
that's crazy.
We used to sponsor the Gators. And when we did the pregame festival, the little kids would be like, "Oh, you're the company with the truck, Mom. That's the company with the truck." And I'm like, "We're as recognizable as McDonald's." Yeah. So at least in Gainesville. But awesome. Word of mouth, trucks, and then Google Ads.
Okay. Awesome.
That's the top
Very
3
nice.
for us.
I just want everybody listening to hear that Comfort Temp says word of mouth is their. I mean, that's huge, because I think a lot of people, they want to get so into, I'm driving all my sales through Google Ads and I'm paying $3,000 a month and it's like, it's fueling my business. And it's like, the goal is like to spend 0 and your customers act as your sales force.
Right.
Like that is the goal. And I think that's great to hear, like even large companies that say, hey, like if we could spend 0 and get better results, like why would you?
Right.
Some people like the flashiness of, I have this super beautiful, awesome like social media strategy and I drive a lot of sales through it. But it's like really, marketing starts with the service that you provide, the offering that you give. If that misses and you keep churning through customers and they're unhappy customers and you keep having to spend more money to get more customers, that's not marketing. That's something different. I think providing a great service that then speaks for itself and people go and be your sales force for you, that's every marketer's dream.
Yeah.
It's every marketer's dream. So.
I think knowing that, it's free. So your cost to acquire the customer just went significantly down, right? From all you've spent on other posts, but also knowing that they trust you and they know our service is above and beyond. And we always ask our customers for feedback. So even before leaving, we want to know what we can do better. And that was one of the things, like every company should constantly be looking to grow. Don't think that you've made it. And when companies start out, they're on this growth kick, they're growing exponentially, all this stuff. They're always needing people. It just seems out of their hands. And then they get to this steady point where they're comfortable. I think we have just the right enough people to do the work. We feel this is good. We have good customer. There's still some growth, but they're kind of in this like cool stage.
Yes.
And it's important that at that stage, you don't stay comfortable. That's the time where you can go back to R&D, research and development, and be like, okay, what's coming up next? Where is it trending? What are we doing? What are other people doing?
Prepare for the next wave.
Because you're in a business cycle, whether you like it or not, your whole entire life span of a business, you're in a circle. You're either growing, you're stable, you're dying, or you're redeveloping, right? And that's over and over again. And it's important for that redevelopment to happen continually so you don't decline all the way down to, you're out of business. And a lot of people are like, this works, and they don't understand that what's worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to work again in the future. Or what's working right now is going to work in the future. So constantly getting feedback from your customers, from your employees is like key.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
Kind of to dive into what you just said there a little bit, what is on your horizon at Comfort Temp, if you don't mind diving in a tad bit on, is there one thing that sticks out to you of this is the future of how we're going to reach our customers? Is there anything that's on that horizon?
Yeah. I mean, digital, I think I talk about digital a lot, but being paper-free, contact-free is something that COVID has kind of, I feel like we were trending that way anyways, but they've accelerated it. Yeah. So how can you do a contact-free service where you and the customer are not, in constant contact? And so that's something that we're thinking into. We still want to be able to be personable and provide good service, but how can we make that to where they feel safe at home and with us coming in with everything that's going on? So that's kind of rethinking how that system would work and how it could be thorough enough, but personable enough to where there is some sort of, distant contact. So that's been kind of hard to figure out, but that's something definitely we're looking into. How can we make it happen and not decrease in customer satisfaction?
I love
that.
Awesome.
Like, I think of like Chick-fil-A, for example. I don't know if I'll ever like walk in and get something to then take out of my curbside pickup, even at grocery stores, Chick-fil-A. Like, that's something that's going to be around forever. Contactless payment. That is so seamless. Instead of waiting in line inside, it's like I can sit in my car, listen to music, convenience. And it's like, I love how you mentioned there's some of these things that COVID, caused that we needed to go down that route, but it was happening anyways. And it's like, people need to realize that's not just something that's going to go away here with everything opening up. And it's like, you have to be on your game to be able to provide that same contactless, quick, convenient service that people gained accustomed to during the pandemic. So,
yeah.
I think like having that perspective is so important for a business to succeed. Especially coming from leadership. We have our owners, Eric and Christine, have just a great mindset. And they always tell us, when there is an obstacle, when we fail, they don't want us to dwell in it. They're like, what can we learn from it? How can we better? How can we
move
avoid
on
it next time? These are learning opportunities. And so even with COVID, when we could be like, all of these terrible things are happening. Like, okay, this is happening. How are we going to reinvent ourselves? And so when the leadership has that perspective, it kind of trickles down. And it's actually a great opportunity when you're put in situations like that to practice your creativity, because you're forced almost to think outside the box.
Love it. Yeah,
definitely. Awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show today. Where can people find more information about you and Comfort Temp?
Yeah. So if you want to visit our website, it's www.comforttemp.com, 2 T's. If you'd like to email us instead, that's info@comforttemp.com. Otherwise, give us a chat. We'll be happy to talk. That's 352-376-2366.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode. This is Jason. I'm the producer for the Short Marketing Show. I got a special question for you. Do you know someone who you think would be a great guest on our show? I mean, hey, it might even be you. Send us an email over at info@shortmediagroup.com, and you or your pick might just be selected to be a guest on a future episode. Until then, guys, if you enjoyed this conversation today, we invite you to continue the conversation by joining our Facebook community, Gainesville Business Marketing. Guys, we made this group especially for business owners and everyday marketers to have a conversation, to join each other and overcome your marketing struggles, find tactics that bring real results, and to seek advice from local experts like you heard from today. So we hope you join our Facebook community, Gainesville Business Marketing. And until next time, thanks for listening.